Welcome to Memory Jogger, a podcast featuring the childhood tales of two friends who grew up in central Pennsylvania during the 1980s and early 90s. This is Jason.
And this is Wyatt. Jason and I have known each other since the fourth grade, and this podcast dives deep into our memory banks to extract what we can remember during our formative years.
And while our perspective can be regional, we also touch on pop culture that is sure to translate to other Gen Xers.
Join us as we jog down memory lane in this episode of Memory Jogger.
Yes, we are back with Memory Jogger. It's Jason here, and of course Wyatt over there.
I am over here. How you doing, Jason?
Doing very good. Glad you're along for the ride. Always glad you're along for the ride. And as we get right into our topic, didn't have any feedback on our last episode, the Star Wars episode, so you can always leave us feedback on any episodes in the feed, and we'll tell you all about that in our outro, our new outro to Memory Jogger. So we're going to get right into it. This week, we're doing another random episode, a mystery episode, using the randomizer, I should say. And we still got a bunch of topics in here, don't we?
We
59. 59.
Yeah, we have a lot to cover. And again, we welcome any input. If you have something itching in your brain, like Karen had suggested a couple podcasts ago, please feel free. We'll throw it in the randomizer.
Yep. All right. Well, you ready to spin it?
I'm ready to go.
All right. Here we go.
Bill Murray.
Ooh. So another actor this time came up in the randomizer. Bill Murray, lots of great movies throughout the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I have not followed him recently. And by recently, I mean the last, 10, 15, maybe even 20 years into the 2000s. I haven't seen too many movies, but I guess what's your earliest movie or maybe television show that you associate with Bill Murray?
I would actually have to say that my first interaction with Bill Murray was probably through Ghostbusters, the movie, the original.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe I know I wasn't part of the SNL group, and a lot of his earlier movies, thinking like Caddyshack and Stripes,
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't watched until I was a teenager. So I was quite removed from his acting lineage per se. So it was Ghostbusters. How about you? What was your first interaction with him?
I think that would probably be the same. I've been trying to jog my memory of the first movie that I watched in the theater, and I want to say it was probably Ghostbusters, just based on the fact I have pictures of Christmas that year in '84, and I have this big blue back off, man, I'm a Ghostbusters sweatshirt. And I just I really believe in my memory here, if I could pull it out, that was the first movie I saw at the Ritz. And that whole movie itself is probably, if not my favorite all time, it's probably in my top 3 movies of all time. And Bill as Peter Venkman is my favorite character. Just his overall attitude towards life, towards people,
Right.
kind of speaks his mind. He has his own sense of humor that's a little bit off from everybody else. But he's just got these great one-liners. And thinking about that crew on set, that had to have been crazy. A lot of improvisation and all that. But yeah, I think Ghostbusters is probably it. I was definitely too young for Caddyshack. Caddyshack, I think, was 1980.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Stripes was right around there, maybe 82 or so.
1981.
81. Okay. He's not one on SNL that kind of stuck out to me. It was more Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd, I think, for the SNL people. So yeah, I think Ghostbusters was it for me as well. What other ones stick out as far as childhood goes before we kind of go through his IMDb? Are there any other ones that come up?
Well, obviously Ghostbusters 2, but I remember him in Scrooged.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I was a teenager when I watched that, and it wasn't too bad. It's been so many years. I'm not entirely sure if I remember it correctly, but in essence, it wasn't too bad. The other one that sticks
Mm-hmm.
out, and it was a big hype for us in our hometown, because I remember the DJ or news people having a heyday on this, was the movie Groundhog Day.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
what is a year prior, there was rumored sightings from different people that they thought they saw Bill Murray at the Punxsutawney Phil Groundhog Day celebration, but no one could really sit down and confirm it. They're like, I thought I saw Bill Murray. Was it Bill Murray? Did you see Bill Murray? Well, I thought I saw him. And of course, he's probably not dressed up to look like Bill Murray. He's probably, not
Right.
not
Wearing a
not.
hat or yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's
trying to
cold up
blend
there, so
in.
I was going to say his hair might have been shaggy, but he probably had a hat and everything to look not like Bill Murray himself. But then it was a blow to us in the community, the area, because Punxsutawney Phil, Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, but yet
Mm-hmm.
they film it in Indiana, Indiana
That's right.
State.
Yeah.
A lot of us were kind of offended, ticked off about it being filmed not where freaking Punxsutawney Phil is. And I don't know if there was something probably behind the scenes. There was something about like there's always a film commission rights, maybe not enough security to keep people away from the freaking town when they're
Right.
filming.
Right.
There could have been a number of things, but again, that was about 1992, 93 when that happened. So you get teenagers and probably the general public of the couple counties just going, dude, you did us wrong. Come on. Could have
Yeah.
filmed it here. Those are the big ones I remember. There's obviously a few other ones hit or miss. We
Mm-hmm.
probably hit through the IMDb, but is there anything else for you that sticks out?
Well, I do remember Scrooged. It wasn't one I watched in the theater. I think it was just mainly one I might have caught on cable, a couple years after it had came out to the theaters. And it's a fun little adaptation to A Christmas Carol, more on the darker side, obviously.
Yeah.
But Bill Murray at his Bill Murrayest, I will say. Yes, of course, Ghostbusters 2. I just I don't know, last year, just sitting back, and I always watch the Ghostbusters movies, the first two mainly each year. And then I remember watching them leading up to the going to see the Afterlife movie and thinking, and even with my wife, she will quote Ghostbusters 2 to me and doesn't quote the first one at all. She for some reason is attuned to the second one. And I was thinking to myself too, I was like, wow, yeah, there's a lot of lines in the second one from him and scenes that I
Mm-hmm.
just love when he's photographing Vigo.
Yeah. Come on, baby. Come
Yeah.
on.
Slay me. Yeah. Slay me or whatever. Yeah. That scene kills me. And just some other little lines throughout. Oscar, oh, named after a hot dog,
You poor fella.
Yeah. So I love him in Ghostbusters 2 as well. But yeah, Groundhog Day was a big one. We actually covered Groundhog Day on the Retro Network feed, our TRN drive-in earlier this year, and that was really fun to go through some of the fun facts about that movie. And I knew that they had filmed maybe a couple things, but it was mainly filmed in Indiana, and they even have like a Groundhog Day celebration there every year for people to kind of walk through the town and visit the sites that he did, or filming locations, which is kind of weird to me. But yeah, that movie is so much fun, and I really enjoy that one. That's also him at his finest, the humor level, the sarcasm, and I don't know, just all of the little things that he does throughout the day and then finally puts it all together at the end. It's so great. I do
Mm-hmm.
love that movie. Another one that I remember renting a lot in the early 90s was What About Bob?
Oh, yes.
Have you seen What About Bob?
I have. That was a hilarious movie.
My mother loved that movie, and eventually I think we owned it on VHS. him and Richard Dreyfuss, and he's the mental patient there seeking his psychiatrist, and he's just making it big. The doctor going on, I think it was Good Morning America or one of those morning shows, at his cabin,
Right.
and Bob crashes the party. There's just all kinds of little one-liners too in that one. I sail. I'm a sailor. In baby steps. Baby step to 12 o'clock or whatever it was. His book.
Mm-hmm.
And then they invite him over. He stays overnight, and he's goofing there with the boy at night and keeping everybody awake. And I just want some peace and quiet. Well, I'll be quiet and I'll be peace. He'd start laughing again. Little lines like that just kill me. And then when Richard Dreyfuss goes completely nuts and he's talking to himself, he's talking like he's talking to Bob and laughing, that he's gotten rid of Bob, but he hasn't. He's back, and it's just such a fun movie. It's been a while since I watched it too. I'm surprised I remembered that much. But yeah, that was another one that really struck home. Trying to think of some other ones, maybe in the 90s more. Oh, okay. So another one, a quirky one that I really like is The Man Who Knew Too Little. Have you seen that one? Where he's the
It doesn't sound. I don't remember hearing
it's
it.
very like spy like, which is I guess why I liked it. But he's visiting, I think maybe in England, his brother, I want to say, and they set him up on this like theater, like this real life theater where he's a detective and he meets the girl and they've got to find something, and they go from place to place, and they're trying to or do like a story, theater. And what happens is he gets in on a real crime and he thinks he's playing along, he thinks he's, or let's do that scene over again or something, and the crooks are looking at him like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And so that was just a fun movie, more situational, that just made it hilarious than necessarily him in that movie. But I remember owning that one on DVD later in the 90s. I think that one was. I'm trying to think what else. Well, let's go through his IMDb.
Yeah.
I got to pull it up here. So let's go back to the beginning, and I really don't see anything. I have seen Meatballs. That came out in 1979, which is have you seen that one? It's like a summer camp movie.
No.
I've seen it like once and didn't really stick with me. Caddyshack is the one I've gone back and watched several times. Carl Spackler doing his little routine with the flowers, it's the masters, it's whatever. And he swings, it's in the hole, whatever he's done. And then him with that damn gopher, that is so much fun. Trying to get rid of that. Get rid of the gopher. Sir, if we get rid of all the golfers, this won't be no gopher, and
yeah.
Back and forth. That movie, it's not necessarily Bill Murray that attracts me to that one. It's more Rodney Dangerfield. But
oh yes,
I really enjoy Caddyshack. I've gone back to watch that several times. Stripes, not so much. I've seen Stripes a few times. For some reason, that one has just not connected with me over the years.
I've watched it and I actually liked it. It's been many years since I've watched it, but I remember watching it. On a note with Caddyshack, I just read, I think last week, the boat that they used in the movie.
Okay.
Whatever it, I didn't know it. It's been so many years, I don't remember a boat.
I'm trying to remember a boat too.
Yeah, but that boat is sitting over here in Maryland. Can't remember if it's docked at Annapolis or somewhere nearby.
Oh, really?
And you can rent it. You can rent to go out and have like a day on it or something. I can't remember what it's
interesting
cost, but it's kind of cool that there's a screen used boat from a movie over here. I mean, it's not the Batmobile, but
Stripes though. Right. Yeah, that'd be awesome. But Stripes, gosh, the cast in that, John Candy and basically the who's who of comedians at the time. I should be more in love with that movie than I am, but I don't know what it was or what it is about it that I just haven't gone back and watched it a whole lot. Let's see what else. Tootsie, I have seen Tootsie like once, and I don't even remember what his part was in that. If it was a bigger part. He had a small part in Square Pegs, that short-lived series with Sarah Jessica Parker. Mr. McNulty.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors.
I don't remember him there, but it says he was there.
Arthur Denton. Yeah, that's one I haven't watched a lot. Oh, yes. So he's in the Hot, Hot, Hot music video for Buster Poindexter. I forgot about that. In 1987, he's the bartender. Looks like he has an uncredited part in She's Having a Baby. I don't think I've ever seen that one.
No.
Of course, we talked about Scrooged and Ghostbusters 2. Quick Change. I don't know that one. What about Bob and Groundhog Day back to back? That was huge. Mad Dog and Glory. Don't know what that is. Ed Wood. I remember renting that and just wanting to turn it off.
Never heard of it. Now Kingpin, I've seen him in that. I remember him.
Oh yes, Kingpin was one of those in the era of like Dumb and Dumber. I think it might have been the Farrelly brothers that did Kingpin.
I think you're right.
And he's got that crazy hair, that comb over thing. Gosh, I'm trying to remember kind of what the plot is to that one, but I remember him bowling with that just crazy hair flying all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Space Jam.
I haven't, gosh, it's only been a few times that I've watched that. Have you connected with that at all over the years?
I have. I love my Looney Tunes, so I like seeing them, even though it's not so focused on the tunes as it is whomever the basketball player is of the day. It was, geez, I should know the guy.
Michael Jordan?
Yeah, Michael Jordan. That was the big basketball player then. And just seeing him be the key person, the main talent that saves the tunes. And Bill Murray's kind of that wannabe. He wants to be more than just a bench warmer, but but it's Bill Murray's style. So whatever you do, coach, come on, yeah, let's go, team, let's go. He's the way he's doing it. It's completely Bill Murray. But I've liked it. Like my kids have actually liked Space Jam, and they like the newer one that came out. They don't call it. I think, do they call it Space Jam 2? I don't remember. Space
Jam something. Yeah, it's not necessarily number 2.
But they've liked both, so it's not it's welcome in our house.
So yeah, let's see. Beyond that, I know he was pretty critically acclaimed in Rushmore.
Yeah, I've heard that, but I don't remember seeing it.
And I couldn't tell you a thing about it. I probably rented it once and haven't gone back to watch it. It's weird how, I don't know, a few times over the years he's popped up, like Charlie's Angels. Now I do remember him as Bosley in Charlie's Angels in 2000.
I found that peculiar. I don't know. I imagined that we were going to kind of star someone else. Again, I'm comparing, which I shouldn't, but I was comparing him to the original Bosley. So I'm thinking of someone with a closer style voice. I don't know. And you see Bill Murray just talking. I'm like, oh no, they didn't. But it fit. It really did. I was surprised.
Right.
I was pleasantly surprised. I was just like, again, I'm like comparing the two Knight Riders that came out. You can't break the mold, but
it's hard not to think in almost trick your brain sometimes when you get in those situations. You're like, wait, what? What am I watching? Is this 30 years ago? Is this now? And it's hard to separate the two sometimes. So, but yeah, I didn't remember him in that. Another one I haven't seen is Lost in Translation. I knew that one was kind of highly acclaimed when that came out. Oh, and then Garfield, right? So he did the voice of Garfield in the 2004 animated movie. Well, in the 2006 follow-up, A Tale of Two Kitties.
And that, I always mix the voices sometimes. The guy that did the real Ghostbusters, the cartoon, even though it did sound slightly different, for some reason I always thought it was him. I thought it was Bill Murray doing the voice. He was just altering it or doing something funky with it until years later I didn't realize that it was
Lorenzo Music.
Yeah.
Is the actor. Yeah. It's so weird. Like, it's so cyclical almost, where you have Bill Murray as Peter Venkman, and then Lorenzo Music plays Peter Venkman in the real Ghostbusters. Lorenzo Music goes on to play Garfield in Garfield and Friends, and then Bill Murray takes over as Garfield in the movies. So it's weird how those two are connected, from on screen and off, well, not off screen, but animated roles.
Right.
How they've kind of played each other over the years. It's weird. What else is on here? Might connect. I do remember him. I think it was just a brief role in that Get Smart remake in 2008.
I still have yet to see
which
both the TV show or the movie.
Steve Carell, I think, was in that one. And then, so I'm skipping a bunch of stuff here that I just have not seen. Monument Men, Zombieland,
Dumb and Dumber 2.
I've never seen
that's
that.
2014. No, I haven't seen that one either.
He was the voice in Fantastic Mr. Fox. I have seen that cover of that movie, but I have not ever watched it. Oh, and then the Jungle Book, the newer one. I think that's the live action one from 2016. He was the voice of Baloo the bear. But that same year, so he came back in the what I'll call the girl Ghostbusters movie in 2016, not to play Venkman, but like a totally different character that gets thrown out of a window. I remember that. I don't know. It was weird. Like, they all had different, like Aykroyd played a cabbie, and Winston was the uncle of what's her face there that owned the funeral home that she got the hearse from.
Oh yeah.
At the end of the movie. But I don't know, just a weird choice to not bring them back as the characters we know and do these other just kind of, peripheral characters to that movie. So that was weird. And then of course he comes back in the Afterlife movie. Did you end up watching that yet?
I have not. I am wanting to, but I just haven't been able to get it.
Very brief role in that one. More of a, well, it's in the third act of the movie when the old Ghostbusters show up. But yeah, you've got to go out there and, because I'd love to talk to you more about it, and I don't really want to spoil too much, but it was very enjoyable as a fan. If you just think of it more or less as a movie for the fans,
right? Really
fit in to the whole universe. And I hear they're supposed to do another one, and I don't know how it's going to fit in the timeline, because that one is more or less a direct sequel to the first movie and doesn't mention the second one at all. So I don't know where they would take it from here to touch on what happened in 1989, whatever. They have in this room that they discover, they have the years, and I don't believe they put 1989. They just go from like 84 to whatever it was supposed to be, 2021 in these supposed to be these events. But so I'm all in on if they do another one and they do it in the same, like, continuing that story.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it then from Bill Murray. Sadly, like I said, we haven't, or I haven't connected with him in his films over the last 20 years. It's been mainly from the 80s and 90s. I'm a victim of all those movies. So, all right. Well, that was fun. Another actor we can check off the list. We've done a bunch so far, and we've still a bunch in there.
Yes.
That when we get to John Candy, I know we have talked about him several times in several of his movies, but
almost extensively.
That'll be fun to kind of go through his IMDb and look at all the movies he was in, but there's several more on there. If there's an actor that you want us to include, let us know. But I think that's going to do it for this week then.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, well, I guess we'll just sign off, and everybody have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.
Have a great one.
Thanks for listening to Memory Jogger. If we jogged a few of your memories, we'd love to hear about it this week.
Visit the show notes for our Tell Me voicemail link and record your thoughts on today's topic or any others from our archive. We'll be sure to play it back on a future episode and give our reaction.
You can also post your comments to our show notes at rediscoverthe80s.com, which is the home base for Memory Jogger and more 80s nostalgia.
You can also find us on Twitter. Jason is at RD80s and I am at InfamousWB.
And if you enjoy listening to the show, leave us a star rating or review in your podcast app of choice. Or better yet, share this episode on social media.
Join us again next time as we challenge our brains on another episode of Memory Jogger.